all flustered or not?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. It's been a bit of a daze today, running around, being interviewed, but here we are.
It's nearly over.
A year's worth of work, all in 90 minutes.
So tell us more then about Bonded by Blood.
Well, it's based on a true story, obviously. That happened about 15 years ago now, based at the Essex drug and gangland. This has been turned into sort of a very tight thriller that hopefully people will watch and enjoy as a movie, as well as kind of going, oh, blimey, that actually really did happen. So that's it, really.
So how does a really nice guy get involved in making a film about gangsters, for God's sake?
I have no idea. No, I just had an interview, got put up for the job, and the producers, Terry and AJ just there, just sort of liked my take on it. And because it was make or break in the interview, and I kind of said that I wanted it to look like a movie as opposed to looking completely realistic. So I put the boys in suits, given them nice cars, nice houses, whereas in fact in real life they always wore denim, drove a Granada and lived in a sort of a mid-terrace house. But so my one thing was always to make sure that the audience had their money's worth when they spend 10 quid on a cinema ticket.
And when you made Tuesday, which was your concept, and you directed and wrote that, excuse me, what was it like directing this in comparison?
Yeah, I'd inherited a script that had been written by someone else, and then I'd sort of reworked it how I and myself and the actors sort of wanted it a bit more streamlined, a bit more character-based. It was a bit meandering to begin with, because true life doesn't fit into a 90-minute structure. So that was an interesting thing, and also having never done a true story before, finding the sort of parameters where you go, oh, naturally what would happen now is you can't do that because that didn't actually happen in real life. So that was interesting. Sometimes a problem because you're going, oh, if only. But then in other times it was kind of like, oh wow, that's something I could never have dreamt up, and yet it's real.
Previously in Tuesday you also produced that as well. Yeah. So was this more liberating because you didn't have to have a producer's head on?
Absolutely. And I could sit there and go, no, I want this, and not actually have to swap my hat and go, but I can't afford it. This time around I could sort of fight my corner and demand certain things. It's always give and take anyway in low budget filmmaking in Britain, but the producing side of it actually came a real benefit to the production, because I'd already answered a lot of my directing questions because I knew what the production would turn around and say. So they found working with me sort of a lot easier than normal, because directors who've never produced before just think the money's being buried somewhere and they can't spend it, but in fact there isn't ever any money, so you've got to make the most of the pennies you have, and so but liberating, yes, I guess that would be a good word for it, because I certainly could just concentrate on making a good film as a director.
Also, it's said to be quite violent, and people always kind of address that, oh, it must be really hard for the actor, but how hard is it for the director?
It is violent, but only because the things that happened were violent. What I didn't do is make a choice of glamorising it and shooting it in slow motion and 50 different angles so it looked really exciting and sexy. And once I'd made that decision, then the violent aspect of it was quite straightforward. It was like for instance, the murders happened in about 10 seconds flat. So we shot them as a 10-second scene, and that was great, because then it wasn't like, oh, where can I put the camera, where can I do... It was very straightforward then. So, yeah, the violence aspect is part of the story, so you had to sort of pitch it either, like I say, you can glamorise it and make it a Hollywood action movie, or you can do it the way we did, which is just kind of go, hey, look, guns kill, and that's... Look, they're not getting up from this one.
And also, very lastly, before you can go on and get interviewed by anybody else, the tunes, are we going to get some great tunes in this?
Yes, we got very lucky. A guy called Jason Kay is one of the composers, and he was a big DJ in the 90s, so he managed to source a lot of tracks, and in fact he had a sort of a #2 single that is in the soundtrack as well. So there'll be, if you grew up in that time and were dancing, then you'll recognise quite a few of the tunes in there. So who knows, maybe an album will come out as well.